To talk about this situation and other crises around the world, Republican political strategist Ford O'Connell in Washington, joining us from Newsmax New York, senior political contributor for Forbes.com, the co-host of Steele and Ungar on Sirius XM Radio, Rick Ungar. Gentlemen, we thank you very much. It's always good to have you here on America's Forum. The president earlier today, speaking about this from Estonia, here's what he had to say.
We will not be intimidated. Their horrific acts only unite us as a country and stiffen our resolve to take the fight against these terrorists. And those who make the mistake of harming Americans will learn that we will not forget and that our reach is long and that justice will be served. Our objective is clear, and that is to degrade and destroy ISIL so that it's no longer a threat, not just to Iraq, but also to the region and to the United States.
The president sounds fairly resolute there, Rick Ungar. Last week he said he did not have a strategy for combating ISIS. What action do you actually expect the president to take?
Oh, I think there's absolutely no question that we'll see action. I think everybody's focusing a little bit too much on the if and not enough on the how, which will lead to the when. Look, what we're seeing happening is straight out of the Wahhabist playbook. We've seen this many times before over the centuries. These people are following it literally to the letter of the way it was done a couple hundred years ago. There's only one way that this comes to an end, and that's to bring them to an end. That's easy. We know that that's going to happen, or we're going to certainly do our best to make it happen, along with our allies and others in the region who have everything to lose by not joining up with us. The question is, and this is a tough one, and people need to understand it's a tough one, how we do it is critically important to how things shake out on the other side of this.
Ford O'Connell.
Let me say this, JD. I agree with Rick here that we need to, how we do this is very, very important. I'm not yet sold that President Obama knows what the end goal is. He spent so much time minimizing ISIS that I'm not sure that without a competent end goal, you can have a competent strategy. And that's what really concerns me, because he said we have to destroy and degrade them in that interview. But when Ann Compton of ABC News pressed him, he's saying, well, destroying ISIS is your end goal. He says, no, we actually have to shrink their influence in the region. Well, that doesn't seem to me that we're pretty sold yet on exactly what the administration's end goal is. I do agree with Rick, though.
Can I say two things about that? Can I say two things about that? The first one is, come on, Ford, you're one of the most seasoned political veterans I know. You're good at this. You know that when any president says that, what he's really saying is, I'm going to go try and wipe these guys out, but if I don't get them all as fast as you would like, I have to give myself some room to say, hey, we said at the outset that we would defeat and degrade them. Secondly, guys, we are all in this one together. I don't care if you're conservative or if you are a liberal. I don't care. The more time we spend beating up on the one commander-in-chief we have. You may not like that that's who we've got, but like it or not, you stuck with him for the next couple of years. The more time we're spending beating up on him instead of educating the public as to what this is about and why it's important that they get behind some action, you are doing great damage.
Wait a minute. Let's just take this for just a second, Rick. Your words might ring with a special resonance if that example had been followed by many on the left, because we were all in it together. I know suddenly it's always present company accepted. But the point is, when you come in and get on your high horse about it and try to lecture us about what we should do, I have to take polite exception to it in terms of the fact that we want to see the president succeed. I think many of us are befuddled by his failure to move forward, but they brought in Ford to make his statement on it. Ford,
but they shouldn't be befuddled.
Well, we've had some confusion about the goal. Let me just show what Lindsey Graham had to say. Let me just show what Lindsey Graham had to say in his statement. I don't think he's trying to score points. He says, Mr. President, if you can't come up with a strategy, at least tell us what the goal is regarding ISIL. Ford, has he set that goal now with what he said today in Estonia?
No, I don't think it's absolutely clear. I do agree with Rick here that this has to get done and we have to come up with a competent strategy. What I'm concerned about here is that President Obama's playing both sides of the ball here. And if we're actually going to get this coalition together, it's not going to form out of thin air. That leadership has to come from the United States. And unfortunately, it's unclear that President Obama is ready to take that leadership stand. I hope he does, because basically the U.S. and the world needs President Obama to lead.
Rick, you're there in New
JD,
York.
let me speak to your point.
Go ahead.
Let me speak to your point, because you made a good one. You're right. It is the left and the right together. Listen, I watched somebody on TV this morning, a Democratic congressman from California, make the statement that what he thinks Congress needs to do is pass legislation giving the president the authority to conduct airstrikes, but expressly no boots on the ground. Now, what does that Democratic congressman know that I don't know that would allow him to preclude boots on the ground at this early stage? I wrote a column yesterday when I said, who says no boots on the ground? I'm not saying we should, but you know what? Why would you take any option off the table just because we may have made mistakes in the past by doing that? That's stupid. So yes, it is the left, it is the right. As soon as we can get past this baloney that we seem to be entrenched in playing and focus on what our problem is here and how to fix it, we will aid our commander-in-chief in getting the job done instead of spending
Rick,
time taking
with
shots
you,
at him.
But Rick, it's not just this congressman. The president continues to say over and over, and I know why, for political reasons, no boots on the ground, right after we just sent 350 more people to Iraq.
Let's
350 more U.S.
politics.
troops. Look, this coalition is going to require more boots on the ground to lace the targets, and it's also going to require Arab sandals in the sand. We know what this is going to take, but the president has to sell the American people if he's going to be successful in selling the world.
Ford, how do you know what it's going to take? How do you know it's going to take our boots on the ground? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'll tell you what, I've spent as much time studying this as anybody over the past few weeks, and I've not reached a conclusion as to what it's going to take.
Rick,
I don't know why you know that.
Well, no, wait a minute, Rick.
You may be right, but how do you know that now?
So let's be honest here. And I agree with you. All options need to be on the table. This is a very pressing situation. But again, President Obama has to be honest with the American people that all options are on the table. And every time he goes out there, he constantly takes an option off the table, whether it's Ukraine, ISIS. This is the modus operandi, is all I'm saying, Rick.
And the other point
do you think
being
he
made
needs
here,
to be honest when he's trying to protect the strategy? So he's not sharing
Yes,
it with
but
our opponents?
let's hope it's strategic.
That's the whole point of American democracy.
Let's hope it's strategic ambiguity, but right now it has left the American people with a very uncomfortable feeling. Rick, you're right there in New York this morning. The New York Daily News, a powerful front page. Let's take a look at it. That's the article, and you see right below the headline on the webpage, do you have a strategy now, Mr. President? Now, Rick, you alluded to your column at Forbes.com. Lay it out for us what we need to do to support our Commander-in-Chief and every American.
But see, here's my response to the Daily News. What did that headline do to help us understand and address what is a very serious problem? It was great snark. It probably sold a lot of papers, but what did it do to help us? I can't figure it out, can you?
Ford, you want to take a crack at it?
I think it's actually resembling pressure at home that says, hey, at least instill in us the confidence, Mr. President, that you know what you're doing. Look, I agree with you. There's a lot of snark, and it clearly is not helping the cause, but at the same time, it's basically presenting a very basic deal. If you look at USA Today in the Pew poll, 54% of Americans think that President Obama is too cautious. They don't have great faith in his foreign policy overall, Rick.
Yeah.
I agree with you, it's snark,
And
but I
you're
think
right.
it's a very
You're
pressing
absolutely
point.
right.
Well, there's plenty of
You're
snark.
absolutely right, but that's politics. I'll have confidence when we beat the you-know-what out of ISIL. That's when I'll have confidence. The rest of it's politics.
Plenty of
My
snark.
kids and
Well,
my
then, to
grandkids
that
don't
point,
care about
though.
politics.
But
Well,
let me say this, though,
very
to
quickly,
another point.
less than
And
30
that's with
seconds.
respect. There's a second S in ISIS, and that stands for Syria. And the president has to prepare the American people for an incursion in Syria because that's their home base. And unless you knock that out, this threat is not going to be contained.
Which, by the way, presents the complication because that benefits ISIL. There you begin to see the problem we have.
It is a problem. We will have to figure it out. The marching orders, literally, for our military consist of left, right, march. We had left and right discussing these issues. Gentlemen, we thank you very much for your time. We want to know what you think. Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, America's Forum.